Well, with more on this, Zeenat Adam is the head of the Afro-Middle East Centre. Zeenat, good morning to you. Firstly, there must be, I'm sure, more details about this deal that are due to come out. Perhaps one of the most important questions right now is whether it will really lead to an end to the Israeli assault on Gaza.
Good morning, Stephen, and good morning to your viewers. I think the most significant deal in the last 15 months has been placed on the table, but as your reporter had indicated, the Knesset is yet to approve of this. And within the last few hours, we've still seen that the carnage continues in Gaza, with at least 30 having been killed this morning. So it really indicates that the occupying power is able to switch off and on the war machinery at its own peril. What the deal actually lacks is accountability and justice, or an indication towards this. But significant is that it does have a caveat that the objective is to reach a final consensus. This deal, Stephen, though, it's not dissimilar to what was placed on the table on the 27th of May 2024. And it really begs the question as to why it's taken almost 7 months to actually have signature on this deal, and whether or not it really is because Trump will be taking office very soon.
Well, I was going to come to that. I mean, my understanding of Donald Trump taking office in the United States is key to all of this. It's such a strong backer of Israel, not just diplomatically, but also militarily. It supplies Israel with most of the weapons that it's been using against Palestinians in Gaza. But doesn't Trump support Israel almost more strongly than Biden does? Did Hamas maybe feel it really needed to get a deal now before Trump?
I think that what this deal really exposes is that Biden had a real lack of conviction and the complicity of the United States in supplying those arms and machinery to Israel. So from the 8th of October until now, $23 billion in arms has been provided by the United States to Israel. And they've just recently signed an $8 billion arms deal to continue over the next few years. Biden's administration also vetoed 4 resolutions that at the UN Security Council that would have delivered on a ceasefire. So yes, it does draw the question as to whether or not Biden or Trump, in terms of their support for Israel, would be the stronger candidate. I think that Trump's approach is very different. He's also had experience with Netanyahu in the past, and he's known for having said that Netanyahu tends to lie and tends to draw the United States into endless wars in the Middle East. So, of course, he would be looking at how to reduce the casualties on the ground. But what is unwritten in the agreement is what the deal really would be from the Americans to the Israelis beyond this. And we know that Trump was very much involved in trying to deliver on an agreement within the Middle East for the recognition of Israel and the normalization of relations with the Arab neighbors.
Within all of this, one of the primary actors here is the decisions that Israel makes. And Israel is a democracy. And as a result, the families of the hostages will be desperate for them to come home, particularly if they're aware that it is their family member that is still alive and might be one of the 33 hostages that would come home. One presumes that many of them will be putting intense pressure on members of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, to accept this deal.
They have been camping out for a very long time, and sadly, the Knesset hasn't listened to the families of those hostages. And I think that, again, what we're looking at is that effectively Netanyahu thrives on war, and his entire political career has been based on that. His survival in terms of his political career is also based on engaging in this continuous war, because failing that, he will be taken to prison. But it also exposes him as having failed in his objectives to cleanse Gaza of Palestinians, to move them and displace them into the Sinai or into Jordan. It exposes him for not having defeated Hamas. It exposes him for not having delivered on the return of the hostages. And considering once again that this was on the table 7 months ago, it exposes him for not having reached that deal that long ago when the hostages could have been returned. So it does put his political career into abeyance. And beyond that, I think this continued carnage that we're going to probably see until Sunday is really going to place the Palestinians in a critical phase. The next 42 days or the 6 weeks of the first phase of this ceasefire agreement is going to be really at the cusp of having to give an indication as to whether we would see a sustainable peace and whether or not the guarantors are able to place that kind of pressure on all the parties to ensure compliance.
Within all of this, and in the situation in Gaza, is not just about ending the assault there, it's also about the sheer amount of aid that people there are going to need. Presumably that aid would have to come from somewhere if it does actually get into Gaza when this deal takes effect. I suppose one of the key questions to that would be whether any of it actually comes from the United States.
Well, the United States is known for playing both parts in terms of providing the arms that kill people, but also providing humanitarian assistance. And that's really the dichotomy that we're faced with. The aid should not have been impeded or hindered in any way in terms of international law throughout the 15 months of this onslaught on Gaza. But it has been, and a lot of the trucks have been sitting on the outside of Gaza waiting to get in. So there is hope that now the aid will be delivered unhindered and that Palestinians would be able to receive that, preventing starvation, preventing the loss of life. However, the deal does not yet go into the intricacies of what happens beyond the 6 weeks and what would be the agreement in terms of the rebuilding of infrastructure that has been decimated and how that would work in terms of aid from the international community.